In 2008, I found myself in a place where no one expected me to be. And this is how I became a stockbroker. Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mal Vodi with financiallypresent.com, your one-stop shop for financial and investment education. And I'm going to break down why I became a stockbroker and why I'm no longer in the industry in this video. So strap it up. This is going to be a wild ride. So I grew up in Hyattsville, Maryland, to two hardworking Ghanaian parents. They helped put me and my sisters through school, doing various jobs. My mom worked as a nurse's assistant for a long time, and my father, he also worked for a very long time, odd jobs, but jobs ultimately that allowed him to have a car to go to work because they were operating with one vehicle. And that meant he drove a taxi, he was a car salesman, and then at some point he even worked for someone else at their driving school. And with all of those jobs, he was able to have a second car so that they both can go to work at their various hours. And somewhere along the lines, him and my mom decided, hey, why don't we open up our own driving school? And they did that. And it even enabled me and my sisters to actually work there. So at the age of 14, I started working the front desk at the driving school. That was my first job. So this went on and on for years, even throughout high school. And then in college, I actually started to taper off some of the work at the driving school. But so if you fast forward all the way to college, I'm a junior in 2008. In the spring, I just hear of a job fair going on the campus of George Mason University where I was going, and I was pursuing my economics degree. And I didn't know much about what I wanted to do other than the fact that I just simply knew I needed to probably wear a suit and tie to whatever job I was going to do. And in my mind, a financial analyst sounded like a good enough position, but I didn't see any of that at the job fair. What I did see was a brokerage firm that offered an internship. So I spoke to the person that was there, and he invited me to come in for a job interview. So I was able to borrow my girlfriend's car at the time and drive to this interview. And long story short, I got it. I was an intern at a brokerage office. So I was a stockbroker intern. I had no clue what I was doing except for the fact that I like to help people and I like to work. And that began this very, very interesting career that you'll come to find out. So what I didn't realize is in 2008, we were going to go through an economic crisis because of the bursting of the economic bubble, the housing bubble. And it triggered so many transactions. The market dropped drastically in so many days and up on certain days. And there were some days that were so exciting and so busy that we didn't even eat lunch. It was constantly just phone calls and clients coming in, and I was just a sponge. I learned so much being around just other people in the industry and then also being around clients that were knowledgeable and like to invest. I really liked my time at the firm that I was at. And I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do though when I graduated, but they were expanding, and at the time they were opening up different locations. So I was thinking, hey, let's see what happens. Long story short, I was able to get a full-time position, my first full-time job as a stockbroker trainee in the Pikesville, Maryland office. So just outside of Baltimore. And at that point, if you're a trainee, you need to get your licenses. And at the time, you needed to get a Series 7 license and a Series 63 in order to be a stockbroker. So I had to block everything out and focus and study. And I strapped down and studied for that Series 7. This was an exam, a 6-hour exam with 250 questions. And I was able to pass on the first try. And I just felt like, I was hype. I felt like nothing could really stop me. And then I had to study for the Series 63 because these licenses have to go with each other in order for you to be an actively licensed person. So I take the 63 a month later and I fail. And it was a punch to the gut, basically. Here I am with my first full-time job, and it just didn't work out. But luckily, the company said, hey, we want you to try again, because some companies will just go and hire someone else that has the licenses and they can just easily let you go. But ultimately, they gave me another chance. So I take the exam again and I fail. So I failed a second time. The Series 63 for some reason had my number at that point in my life, and it wasn't very easy for me. So taking that type of failure, but They knew that they liked me and that I liked working and helping people out. And I had to wait a certain period of time, usually about 60 days, before I can take it again. I took it a third time, and the day after Christmas that year, I was able to pass the Series 63. So I was a full-fledged licensed stockbroker in the winter of 2009. So now I got a chance to really just get my hands dirty and interact with clients on a different level, because I wasn't just a trainee, I was a broker now, and I can execute orders. I can advise people in certain regard or educate them on specific things. I wasn't an advisor, I was a stockbroker. But I was able to also travel to different branches and provide coverage there, and I essentially just moved up the ranks. So basically from 2009 all the way to 2010, just kind of grinded it out and eventually became a senior stockbroker. And what starts to happen there is they start looking at you and saying, hey, well, what other positions are you looking for as you're moving up the ranks? And they're thinking, you might be a good candidate to be a branch manager. In my mind, I'm thinking of possibly getting my MBA and trying to figure out my next steps. Because I technically had a 5-year plan. I decided to take my GMAT in order to pursue my MBA. And I had an all too familiar situation. I took the GMAT and my scores were not good. My grades were decent enough, my resume, my credentials, but something about that exam, I just didn't do well. And it's one of those things where you couldn't escape it. For what I was trying to do, they wanted a GMAT score. So I took it that time and didn't do so well. So I buckled down, signed up for a course, took that, studied some more, and took it again. And my score was about 10 points less than the previous time. So now I'm reflecting personally. It's like, is this something about me that I have to figure out? It's like, what am I gonna do? I'm at a crossroads where I think I should diverge and do something different, but at the same time, I'm hitting my stride and I've been moving up. So I had to figure out what I wanted to do going forward with my career. So what I essentially kept doing is I just kept working hard at my current job as a stockbroker, or senior stockbroker at the time. And then I started getting some hints and clues from people that, hey, there's a management position that's open. You should probably take a look. And I did. I said, yeah, hey, why not? I went ahead and said, hey, this is the next move for me. You know, if you're not growing, you're dying. And I figured I'd just continue to grow wherever I was. And then if I needed to move, I would move. So I took the opportunity and applied to the management position. They flew me out to headquarters and I had an interview, actually 5 interviews that same day, and they flew me back home. But I knew by the 5th interview that it was pretty much a done deal, that they were ready to have me as a branch manager. And I was right. At the age of 26, I became a branch office manager. So at my age, a young black male, I was the branch manager of an office that had clients, thousands of clients across the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, or the DMV. And who am I kidding? As far as people were concerned, I didn't look like I belonged there. Their idea of a stockbroker or financial consultant, they were expecting an older, middle-aged white male, but you got what you got when you got me. And I stepped into that role as confidently as I could. I said they couldn't deny me. At a certain point, you understand that, hey, if you know your stuff, that you can't deny it, okay? So I was actually able to manage people even older than me, people as old enough to be my parents, actually, when I was a branch manager. And it was a very interesting experience because there were times where I had clients that come in, look at me, ask for the manager, and I'd have to tell them, yeah, I am the manager. Or they would go directly to the older employees and look for their assistance versus mine. And that just meant I had to lean in a little bit harder to allow people to understand the presence I had in that space. So I was basically the right guy for the job, or at least I thought I was. So in order to be a manager, you do have to have additional certification or additional licenses. And for me at the time, it was the Series 9 and the Series 10. So the Series 9, it was more options-based, options trading, and I was able to pass that with flying colors, no issue there. Series 10 was more about state regulation and supervisory stuff, which I can do on a practical level, But these exams are written by lawyers and a whole bunch of other people that are a little bit removed from the actual work of the industry. Either way, I had to take the Series 10 and I failed. I failed the first time, and I'm getting flashbacks of when I first got licensed and I struggled with the 63. So I had to wait 30 days. I took the Series 10 again, and then I failed. And I was getting a little nervous. So there's some level of anxiety you get when you start stepping into these testing centers and you're getting the same results time after time. So now I have to wait 60 days to take the exam a third time. And at this point they're saying, hey, well, you know, if you don't pass, we're gonna have to find someone to fill your role for you, because we need someone with the license in order to call you a manager, okay? So 60 days later, I take that exam, the Series 10, and I have prayer warriors from church. I have friends and family thinking of me and praying for me and just hoping that I pass, and I failed. I failed that same exam 3 separate times, and it was devastating, because it wasn't just, you know, I felt like at a certain point it wasn't just me that I'm representing, but it's so many other people, the people that aren't normally welcome in this space. And to cap it off, they had to remove that manager title. I was not a manager, I was a manager at large, yet I still had to manage the people there. And I still had to help people with their reviews and their goals and all of these different things. But that license, that one license, I needed that in order for it to be an official title. So I essentially got demoted, but the responsibility stayed the same. And they went on their pursuit to find a different branch manager. I just was filling the role. Lo and behold, 6 months go by. My regional manager calls me up and says, hey, are you still thinking about taking the Series 10? Because I think we can have you take it again. And I said, well, I know this stuff, I might as well take it again. I have nothing to lose. So I take it essentially 6 months later from the previous failure, and I finally passed the exam. So here I am, fully licensed as a manager, with now more than enough experience to be a manager, because I've already been managing for almost a year at this point. And I was finally done with the licensing. So in total, for the 4 licenses that I had to get as a stockbroker, financial consultant, branch manager, I was in a testing facility 9 times. So what does that say? It basically says that I just don't quit. If given the opportunity, I will pursue a goal, okay? But one of the things I did not care for with the brokerage industry, and another reason why I eventually left, is that I didn't see enough people like me. You know, I was not even 30 miles from where I grew up, and I was in Fairfax County, only to see that 30 miles away where I grew up in the wealthiest majority Black county, there were no brokerage offices. They didn't put offices there. In fact, they would put them in Northern Virginia, they'd put them in DC, and they put them in a few other counties, but they wouldn't put it in the county that I grew up in. And this company had branch offices nationwide. But it really just goes to show you that there is some level of a divide when it comes to financial conversations or financial environments in specific spaces. And that's something that's always stuck with me when it comes to the brokerage industry and even the banking industry. Another thing that always sat with me, or didn't sit with me, is the fact that it was a very dog-eat-dog world when it came to the brokerage industry, especially when you step into advisory, and it can be more of a sales environment. And if you're not hitting certain numbers, or if you're not building your book well enough, your job can be on the line, right? And that means that you're gonna automatically box people out. If they don't meet certain minimums, they're not gonna get help or service. If you're not building your book, or you have 2 bad quarters, you may be let go. And you know, that to me just doesn't provide for not a balanced lifestyle. So I got to the point where, you know, I'm married now to my girlfriend, who allowed me to borrow her car for the first interview. So we've been together for a long time at this point. And We now have a newborn, and I had a bad quarter, and I knew that after another bad quarter, I would be on the chopping block. So you mean to tell me after even failing, you kept me after failing all of these different exams and passing all of these different exams, that, you know, a couple bad quarters now could mean the end for me. Then in the back of my mind, I also knew that I just didn't want to be typecast. Like, I knew that being a stockbroker or branch office manager or whatever title was not all that I had to offer. I had so much more that I wanted to do. So I eventually made the leap. I left. In January 2017, I transitioned. I actually changed careers after being with that one company for almost 9 years. I changed and started doing more consulting for government agencies. And it was a big change for me, but what helped me get through that was those failures that I experienced, because I kind of built some calluses as far as, one, investing, but then investing in myself through certifications and licenses. So from 2017 onward, I actually got a certification every single year, and that helped me in different industries. So I did a little bit more finance and IT consulting as well. But throughout that time, I still talked with people about their finances, still helped educate people, and still had a heart for ushering people through the stock market. So that's why we have Financially Present today. It's because of the failures, it's because of the success, it's because of the stubborn nature that I have, but ultimately it's because it's something that I'm passionate about, and I just want to make sure there's enough people that look like me that understand this and know this, so that they can navigate through their risk in order to build wealth and do better for their families. So when you see financiallypresent.com or any of the resources, or see me speak publicly, you know that it is through all of these different experiences and all of these resources, the people along the way that have helped me and taught me and mentored me, and the books that I've read, and the ups and downs that I've seen in the investment markets, and the ups and downs that I've felt with my own dollars of investing. All of this is a culmination of everything that I've experienced in order to deliver an educational experience to those who are interested in learning about the stock market and determining more for their future through generational wealth. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the page, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on future content. And until next time, stay present.